Greetings. Welcome to another segment of Keep the Beat with Pete. And as we indicated in the thumbnail for this and some of the lead up, I wanted to cover Crossstick. You know, last week I did a cover of Horace Silver, Nutville, and Roger Humphries played excellent drum piece on that, Rudy Van Gelder Studios, and the mix on that was excellent too. I mean, the drum sounded so crisp and 1960s jazz, you know, sound. But in that song, Roger Humphries is using the Crossstick, and I thought it's a topic that people touch upon, but not very often, and it's kind of either taken for granted or, you know, it's just like one of those things. Yeah, you know, you do that, but yet it's everywhere, and it's made a big comeback in recent years, even in jazz drum solos. You know, so I thought we'd take a nice, clean look at it. First thing is, you got to know which snare drum you're using, what the rims are. You're going to have one of those big wooden rims. This is a DW snare drum with a conventional hoop, you know, metal, and then what sticks you're using. In this case, I happen to be using 5A Vic Firth sticks, but you might be using a thinner stick. These are some old jazz sticks I have. Maybe these are 7A or something like that, so they might sound a little different. So it depends upon what you have to do with it. But some of the basic things you hear, you know, in the bossa nova, you know, you would get like 1, 2. Okay, so it's there. It's in like a, you know, like a pop tune, you know. Okay, so what's one of the fundamental things? Well, what kind of sound do you want to get from your Crossstick? You could see if I move the stick towards the end and I hit. By the way, I have the snare drum off here, but there might be several occasions when you would do the same thing, and it would be on, and it would be off. It does change the sound. Again, same thing when you play brushes. Sometimes you want the snares on, sometimes you want it off. Right now, I have it off. So I'm near the end of the drumstick, and I'm resting my weight on the head. That's one sound. Now I'm moving it up to a more conventional position. But I'm taking my hand off now. So, and then all the way. So, that's the one you hear most often. So I want to say that's about 3/4 of the way up the stick. But you do have different length sticks, and you do have different thicknesses. So obviously, you know, when I first started the channel, I said we like to cover 4 different things in the channel in terms of body mechanics, vocabulary, song repertoire, and just know a lot of songs, as many as you can, and equipment. In this case, this is really about equipment as much as anything. So what rim are you playing on? What type of snare drum head do you have on? Is the snare drum on or off? And what sticks are you using? But in this case, about 3/4 of the way up, and you find that with a lot of different sticks, that it gives you the nice Crossstick sound. You want a consistent sound, especially if you're recording. If you're playing a nightclub, if it's slight variance, but when you're recording, alrighty, so with that being said and that in mind, now you hear Crossstick in a lot of different settings. You hear it in jazz and at a lot of different tempos. So like in Nutville, I'll just turn the snare drum on, right? Right? Okay, so what happens when you start increasing the speed? Well, sometimes you may not get the right spot and your cross stick's going to be inconsistent. It'll be all over the place. So, what do? One of the easy quick tips is take a little bit closer position, like if you're going between the shell mount tom-tom or your independent stand tom-tom, whatever. I usually have mine mounted on the drum because that's what I did all these years, and it seems to work really good, and I like the sound and all that sort of thing, but that's another day. So you get 3/4 of the way through, but just take a position a little closer to the tom-tom. Sometimes you'll see people right at the center of the snare drum, but in this case, you might miss. So it might be helpful to get it just slightly off center, closer to the shell mount tom-tom, for consistency of your sound. Like What I Say, that's another one. So you want to try to get a consistent sound as you can, and you want to have that nice fat sound. Like I said, if for some reason if you're looking for that sound or this sound, you move the stick. Okay, you just have to be aware of the fact that that's what you're going for. A lot of times, people are used to hearing that, and these sticks, by the way, that's another thing. You're using oak, hickory. These are hickory. American classic hickory. If you use maple, oak, you might have a slightly different sound. So that's another factor to consider. What is the band looking for? What is the music? What is the requirement? And what's the feel you're trying to create? Okay, so all that with a cross stick. The last thing is just turning the tom-tom off. Also is, again, now it's made in jazz. There's a lot of times it's used in solos. So what do? You practice your rudiments, actually, if you want. You practice your Latin patterns. You practice patterns. So I know in recent years it's become a thing again to really work the whole cross stick thing and create a zillion patterns. And they use different parts of the drum set and do a lot of contrasting with it. So there you have it. It's really a thing of get your basic cross stick sound, understand what sticks you're using, understand where you're striking the rim, what type of rim do you have. You know, you have a snare drum with those wooden rims, it's going to sound different, wood on wood than wood on metal. What head are you using? Is the snare on or off? Are you using hickory, maple, oak, or some other type of stick? Some blend, some synthetic type material. And then, of course, the type of music you're playing and the tempo. If you're playing at a quick tempo, it might behoove you to get that stick shot, cross stick, closer to the shell mount tom-tom. And even if you're going back and forth, to keep landing on that same spot for consistency's sake. If you have a nice, easy tempo, it's better to be here than there. But for consistency, that's a little trickier. Could be done if you practice it a lot. I'm just giving you a quick way to cheat and still sound consistent, and it could be recorded that way and it would be fine unless somebody's really got a very specific requirement for that cross stick. And if they do, then you have to do that. Okay? And then of course in your solos, take your again, stick control or other books that you use with patterns, and now instead of playing on, snare drum, I mean, that's what you'll hear a lot of times, but there's so many creative things, and it made a big comeback in the last few years using the cross stick in the drum solos and the jazz and Latin world, of course. So that's it. There's your cross stick. It's a very important skill. I don't think people spend enough time on it and or talking about it or trying to practice it. So there you go. Try to practice it, and you'll develop a skill that gives a whole other dimension to your playing, right? Okay, so for those of you new subscribers, welcome aboard. For those of you that have been waiting for a while, thanks for watching. If you have comments, if you can add to this, if you think there's something else we could do to look at this again, because we do things over the course of time, and I go and I revisit them, and I go back and I look at it a different way and I add something to it, or I'll do a different song and I'll say, notice what happened here with this particular cross stick, or notice how this solo had this in it, and so forth. So we do that. Comments, suggestions, that's all fine. Okay, so we're trying to help get you to understand the ways that you're going to create the beat when you're on the spot. That's what the whole channel is really all about. There's a lot of transcription things out there. There's a lot of play these licks, and that's all good. We're not saying any of that's bad. What I'm saying is, I said this once before when they were talking about Steve Gadd doing 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. So he walks into the studio and Paul Simon plays the track, or however they set it up, and what do you want to do here, Steve? And he says, oh, I need a transcription of the Steve Gadd beat. No. Obviously, he's got to hear it. He's got to say, okay, all right, I'm going to try this, and this. It's creating that there, whether it's one afternoon, whether it's on the spot. I guess there's video and interviews and stuff like that. But basically, it's not a thing where you get a transcription. So that's what the channel's all about. Buddy Rich is at Caesar's Palace, I believe it was, when I did that cover of Channel 1 Suite. And all of a sudden the band sets it up, and here's Buddy Rich. You have this tremendous opportunity to do this extended buzz roll with all the accents. Oh, I need a transcription. No. Create it. So that's what we're working on, okay? Thanks for watching. Create the beat you keep. Peace out.